Hello to everyone listening now and viewing the video. If you're live, welcome. If you're watching this afterwards, then welcome anyway. So this is the Lewis Michael Show, and I got a couple creators with me again today. And this is a very interesting project, which is all about wrestling, professional U.S. wrestling. And the project is Roddy Piper, the Kilted Avenger. Now, this is a standalone graphic novel. It's currently available on an Indiegogo campaign for one more week. And after that, well, let's find out what happens after that if it is available in other outlets. But anyway, jumping right in, I have to introduce you to the team behind it. So we have the writer of the project, which is Dominic Riggio, and the artist, which is Erik Hodson. How are you guys? Everything good?
Doing great.
Yeah.
Thanks for glad to be here.
Yeah, doing
Now,
great.
that's great. Now, it is close to evening time for me. It is lunchtime for you guys. I know you will probably have some more activities later on in the day. So we should try to keep this to an hour to give you time just to take us over the project and plug it a little bit and then talk more about yourselves. I'm going to start without further ado sharing this screen so we can see your campaign. Just give me a little second here. All right, so everyone watching this?
Yep.
Indiegogo page, yeah, cool. So we got here just a little overview first on my side. You guys don't know it. Most people hearing it don't know it either. But I did once a graphic novel, a big one, which was like 80 pages or something. And this was way back in the late 90s. It came out in 98. It was a very small circulation, self-published as well, black and white, and it was about a group of army guys that take on wrestling in their part-time activities. It was really a kind of an underground kind of graphic novel, really weird, really violent. So it's not really the sort of stuff that is mainstream. But I've always enjoyed very much wrestling. I think it's a sport, an activity, and entertainment that is often relegated to second and third tiers. And I always, I always had a lot of respect for the guys doing it. I think they're great athletes, they're great performers, above all anything else. And over the years, I watched wrestling live a few times. Whenever they used to come to Europe, which was not that many times. And but every time something that I noticed something about wrestling, and there are quite a few comic books like similar to this one in the market. Not a lot, but there's a few. I remember the Warrior, the from the 80s.
The Ultimate Warrior, yeah.
Yeah, he had a comic book, I think. It was
Yes, he
very
did.
It looked very much art similar to Rob Liefeld. I think that was a few years back, and just recently there was a couple of other kind of pseudo documentaries on wrestling, like anthology titles that also kind of encompass the whole history of WWE and WWF. So, but this is all centered on Roddy Piper, which was a Canadian fella, which I'm not sure if he was the first one to branch out into movie roles, but he was one of the first. I mean, Hulk Hogan had previously had done quite a few TV appearances and all that. But I do remember him quite fondly from one of my favorite movies of the 80s, actually, They Live, which, interestingly enough, is not one of the best John Carpenter movies, but it is nonetheless a great movie with great sequences. And obviously, your project is all about Roddy Piper. And I wanted to ask you first, in a nutshell, what you have here on offer, and then we'll go through the actual tiers that are on offer here on your Indiegogo campaign. All right. So who wants to start? Where did you guys came up with the idea, and how long has this been cooking for, and what's the whole spiel about?
Go ahead, Erik.
Well, basically, it's been in the works for a few months, getting all the background stuff done and taken care of, and it's a partnership with a company over here called Pro Wrestling Tees, and they do a lot of T-shirt merchandise, licensed stuff, and so they handled the licensing and stuff for us. They're kind of the go-between between us and Roddy's wife, Kitty, and getting this developed and approved, and she's excited for it. And we've got a storyline here about Roddy Piper as a vigilante superhero, where he runs this crazy talk show by day called Piper's Pandemonium, and at night he's clad in black with a black kilt, and he's taking on the scum of the earth in the evenings. And it's full of guest stars and lots of Piperisms. You mentioned They Live. We've got references to a lot of his ring appearances and his movie appearances. So it's really a book written, created by Piper fans, specifically for Piper fans. And it's to me, it's I never got to meet him in person. It's one of my biggest regrets in this business. And to be able to work on this project it's a privilege, and I'm happy for it.
Awesome. Yeah, that was actually one of you just answered one of the questions I had for you, which was actually how do you guys get to be able to work with this character, basically to actually to be able to incorporate a famous wrestler into the actual book. So and obviously you I was kind of thinking that obviously you needed some sort of some sort of permit to actually use his likeness and obviously the name, and it's all about him. So you actually go through all that process of actually getting that approved. Is it very difficult to be able to do that, or could you do the book without getting some sort of authorization from the estate of Roddy Piper? How does it work?
Well, it's very difficult for everyone else other than us because we're so awesome. And everybody just wants to work with us. No, basically there's a contract between Pro Wrestling Tees and the Piper Estate, which is controlled by Kitty, as far as I know. And Erik's art caught the eye of Pro Wrestling Tees and Kitty. And Erik contacted me because I'm a big wrestling fan, and we've met over the years. And the whole thing kind of came together. And it's a collaboration between Pro Wrestling Tees, my company, Mess Bucket Comics, Kitty, and Erik. So, it took a little time, and they approved our script, and it's been smooth sailing so far. I wouldn't. I have nothing to complain about. It's a great opportunity.
Awesome. Now this is the launch of the actual book, or it has been available before, and now you just made it available through the Kickstarter. Sorry, through the Indiegogo.
Yeah, we're in production of the book right now. This is kind of a way for us to raise some more money, maybe hire another artist or move the process along, because we're indie guys. We're not Marvel or DC or anything like that. We're doing it all ourselves. Mostly Erik is taking the brunt of the artwork, which is very difficult and time consuming, and we have to get it right because we know all the Piper fans expect this to be an excellent book.
Awesome. Is this going to be the only outlet for the book? I could ask this straight away. Usually I leave this question for the end. But obviously because you have an assured audience, or at least you have interested parties in obviously obtaining this book as part of memorabilia surrounding Roddy Piper. So is this something that then will be available after the campaign is over, and hopefully quite successfully? Will be available through different outlets? Will this be sold through the company we're mentioning that sells wrestling apparatus and merchandise? Will these probably have plans to go into the shops as well? Maybe through some distribution system, maybe through Diamond? What you guys have planned for this?
Well, basically, what we're doing with this with the Indiegogo is this is a pre-order opportunity. This is to make sure that you get a signed copy of the book ready to go. After the Indiegogo campaign is finished and the book is ready and printed, it will be distributed through Pro Wrestling Tees, and we're open to all sorts of outlets beyond that. I'm hoping that with them as the main hub for distribution, that we could get it in bookstores, like you said, Diamond, and wherever else it can go.
Uh-huh. So, do you guys just want to take us briefly over the campaign here and just go through each one of the tiers, starting with the first one here for $5 US? Obviously, I open it up a little bit, but it will be a little bit difficult for anyone watching the video to actually read this. So, what you have here at the top tier, the first tier, you call it a Kilted trading card. So it's only a trading card, nothing else is included, or is the book also included in this?
Yeah, this is just for the trading card. We had a lot of feedback saying that people didn't want to go for the whole $25 spiel. They wanted something more affordable. So we did the trading card as an avenue for people who still want to support the campaign, but they can't quite make ends meet. So this is a good way for people to get in on the ground floor. You get a personalized thank you on the back of the trading card, and anybody who subsequently does any of the other tiers, they'll also get one of these as well.
All right. You only have one trading card planned for this tier, or they're different ones, and you need just offer them randomly?
There'll probably be different ones offered later on down the line, but for right now, it's just the one card.
All right, very good. Scrolling down, you got then the book. So the book is $25. It is signed by the team. And by the way, will this be available internationally, or is only domestically, only US?
We will ship anywhere around the world. Outside of the U.S., Erik is going to deliver it by foot. Yeah, this is. I mean, obviously, if you're outside the U.S., then you're gonna have to pay a little more in shipping. But yeah, it's available anywhere.
Yeah, perfect. So the book is how many pages we're talking about here then?
How many what?
How many pages? Sorry.
Oh, what do we say, Erik? 52, 56, somewhere around there?
Yeah, it's a minimum 52-page book. So far, that's the way the script is trending.
Right, and it's fully colored, right?
Yes.
Very good. And after this one, you got a $60 bird here, Broken Coconuts. So you get the book, and you're going to merchandise here, right? T-shirts. And
Correct.
what sort of merchandise you have planned for all these campaigns? Is it only the T-shirt? What does the T-shirt has on it? Is it the cover of the book, or is it just the logo?
Well, that's up to that's an officially licensed T-shirt you'll be getting from Pro Wrestling Tees.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily. Correct me if I'm wrong, Erik. It's not necessarily the logo you see in the picture here. That's kind of a generic thing, but it's whatever Pro Wrestling Tees wants to put on there. They have very high quality shirts that many of the wrestlers use as their merchandise distribution. So there's the T-shirt, and there's also the 11x17 posters. There's you have the opportunity. You go over the rest of the perks there, but there's opportunity to be in the book. There's a lot of cool stuff if you're a Piper fan that you can be a part of.
Oh, on this particular tier, or the one? Oh, it's after that.
Like
Broken Coconut, I think you get. You get a T-shirt and you get a print, and everything will be signed.
Yeah. Okay. This one is just basically the book and the merchandise, the print and the T-shirt. But then the one you mentioned, where people can get into the book, I guess is this next one, get drawn in the audience, and that's $175. And I guess
So
go ahead
and explain that one, Erik. That's the one where you're going to be the bad guy, right?
Yeah. No, that's not where you're the bad guy. This is the one where you're an audience member or you're a background character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the bad guy one went quick, and we had to offer a second tier of that. But for this one here, and if you want to get a pop over of my screen, I got one of the pages in development right now.
Yeah.
Basically, you get to be in. It was like I said earlier. Piper has this day job where he's this crazy talk show host. So it's like Piper's Pit, only it's like a daytime TV show. And there's an audience there for participation and a crowd. And you're going to be in the stands, drawn in the stands, sitting alongside some of the wrestlers that have been in the video for the pitch on the Indiegogo. And so looking at, I've got a page up here where it's basically one of those shots where like, hey, how about this great audience, everybody? And you have Piper standing there, and behind him, I'm working in a few different wrestlers, and then I've got some generic figures here that are ready to be filled in with any Piper fans like this. So it's a nice little crowd shot. I'm working on the logo right now for Piper's Pandemonium, and that'll be in the background. And it's a nice little quick shot of the audience. But there's going to be other opportunities other than this one page where the audience is reacting to what's going on in the TV show in the very beginning of the book. And I really want that to be true Piper fans, actual people who love and enjoy this man's career, rather than just some generic people that I draw in there. So really hoping to step up the participation on this perk.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool wrestlers that are going to be in the audience that you could be shoulder to shoulder with. There's, of course, Kitty and Colt Piper. There's Ryan Barkin, the owner of Pro Wrestling Tees. Colt Cabana, Cheeseburger from ROH. Mandy Leone from ROH. Bill Apter, Alicia Tout, and Victoria from WWE and TNA.
Okay, let's just go back to the Indiegogo net. Let me just try to share this again. Okay, so this is the one in the audience, and the one you were probably talking about is the next one, where you're able to offer spots to be beaten up by by the hero, right? So it's 75.
Exactly. This is our part 2. We sold out the first 4, so we were able, through looking through the script, to figure out a couple of angles where we could add a couple of more people. And basically, you're one of the bad guys in this big, great museum heist scene that Piper is going up against.
All right.
Yes, this is your last chance to get your ass kicked by a Roddy Piper, people.
Awesome. So you got 2 of these available. Okay. And you got here a $6,000 bird, which you become the main villain of the story. Anyone that will claim this, which is only one available, will actually become the main villain.
That's right.
And we're hoping that this book's successful enough that they'll want to do a series of books, because we kind of got this master plan of doing a few different books featuring different wrestlers, and they all come together at the end for this final story. And so you would be the villain in perpetuity if that comes about. So it's not just for this book; it could potentially be for 4 or 5 different stories. But as far as this book goes, yeah, your face would be that of Ruth S. Heel, the antagonist of the story.
Ruth S. Heel, that's right. So yeah, okay, got it. Then obviously, if you have more books in the future, then you actually could carry on being the ongoing villain, and that's why you have kind of a big price tag for this one, as it will be an appearance throughout several books. Right, that was the one you were saying that he sold out, and that's why you introduced the audience one. Cool. So now you got some stretch goals here. 9,000. Will be a print from Gus Vasquez, and another print by Arvell Jones. Okay. Sorry about this. People popping up. We're going back here to the top just to have a look at the generals of the campaign. So again, like I mentioned, 6 more days left. You guys have the 6,000 flexible goal. You kind of got considerably more than half of that. But anyways, a flexible goal. So this will go into print no matter what now. Is that right?
That's correct.
Awesome. All right, cool. Yeah, let me just stop sharing this because I keep on getting these annoying pop-ups. And yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys, Erik, you seem to be you look very much like a well, besides obviously being a cartoonist, it looks like you have some sort of background in caricature as well. I mean, what has been your career up until now? Do you have any other books that we know of?
I've been in the indie comic scene since probably early 2000. It's kind of blurry. I was pretty much only always interested in doing self-publishing, so I did I've done 4 or 5 different comic books series. First one was called Melby Comics. I did one called World of the Zombies, and then another one called Zilch. And they never really went too far because the indie comic scene, especially back then, wasn't lucrative, and it was very hard to get publicity. We didn't have the platforms like we have now. And after that, I started doing all the fan art type thing and going around to different comic book conventions. And I started doing mashups of classic comic book covers with wrestlers and wrestling events. And those you can see a gallery of those on my Facebook page, Erik Hodson Illustration. And they, for example, like the Incredible Hulk 181, first appearance of Wolverine. I did the Incredible Hulk Hogan with the famous match between him and Andre the Giant, and I've got Piper running out down at the bottom corner there, where Wendigo would normally be in the original cover. And I've been doing a series of these, and they have just caught the fascination of wrestling fans. And like Dominic said earlier, that type of art led me to working with Mick Foley on his 20th anniversary of Hell in the Cell. I've worked for some other wrestling organizations like High Spots, Pro Wrestling Tees, and the most recent big event called All In Starcast, which happened with all the Bullet Club and New Japan guys coming together to put on their own independent wrestling promotion. So I got to be a guest at that. And that's where a lot of the interviews for the video actually came from. We were set up there at Starcast and just went around to the different wrestlers and say, hey, we're doing this book with Roddy Piper. Do you have an interesting Piper story you'd like to say on camera and help us out? And we had more than enough people who were just jumping at the chance to say something nice about Piper and really excited to genuinely be a part of the book. So it's been really great. And it's like I said, I'm happy to be working with Dominic. He's a veteran too of indie comic scene. He's got several books under his belt that he's written and had and published under Mess Bucket Comics, and I'm sure he'd love to tell you about some of those.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Just one final thing. Are you coloring the book as well, or you got someone for that?
So far, I'm doing every art job. That's another reason why we're doing the Indiegogo, and hopefully we'll be able to get past our goal before it all gets called quits. Because it would be nice to bring in another team member, be able to pay them a fair salary, and get this thing done in half the time.
All right, okay. Lettering will also be handled by someone else.
Lettering? I don't know. Are you gonna do the lettering, Erik?
so far, that's one of the art jobs.
Okay.
You can skip it all together and be just action. Comes with an audio book if you want to have kind of. Now back to you, Dominic. I mean, what is the story then behind your imprint? You've been doing self-publishing for quite some time, and you have your own you have your own label. So what's the story there?
Yeah, so Mess Bucket Comics got started in 2011, and my first book came out in 2012, and it's a graphic novel trilogy called The Arcane Awakening. I'm the writer for that. It's X-Men meets Supernatural kind of feel to the story. One last battle between heaven and hell. Winter takes Earth. It's a good guy group and a bad guy group. The popular good guy is Mojo. Mojo is a descendant of Jim Morrison. He drinks whiskey and speaks in all doors lyrics. And the popular bad guy is a demon. As he consumes people, he turns into Ravager, and he was inspired by my ex-girlfriend. So I traveled with that trilogy for 3-4 years, and in the last couple of years, I released my hockey comic book. It's called Donnybrook. It's a collection of my junior hockey stories, a peek behind the curtain, what it's like to play in the minor leagues. So there was that, and then we've got the Piper comic book coming out, and I got a few other announcements I'm going to make in the probably by the end of the year that I'm really, really excited about.
All right. Well, you can always make announcements here in this channel as well if you want.
Sounds good, man.
Bringing in the audience. What attracted you guys to Roddy Piper? Obviously, beyond the point that he was a great guy and a terrific performer, but any particular other reasons why Roddy Piper and not any other wrestler for any other particular project? What made you make these books?
For me, I mean, I've been a wrestling fan as far back as I can remember. I was at WrestleMania 3. The first time I saw Piper wrestle at the Silverdome. That was the big one where Hogan beat Andre. So I was just always intrigued by him. He was one of the coolest bad guys that I had ever seen, and it was just the idea of a character that was a bad guy, but you would still you'd boo him with a smile on your face. So I was just always intrigued by how he did that and his personality and persona, and I've always been a Roddy Piper fan, and the movies even put it over the top. So, and he just made wearing a kilt cool. There's just so much I could go on for so long. So I've always been a wrestling fan and a big fan of Roddy Piper.
And for you, Erik, what was the attraction?
I mean, he's just he's a natural action star and just so over the top and big. And again, like I said earlier, it was been one of my biggest regrets that I didn't actually get to meet him. And there was a few different opportunities I could have, but I just kind of shied away, fan shied. I didn't want to bother the guy, that type scenario. And it was just one too many times. So when Ryan approached me with the idea for doing this project, I not going to say no, absolutely not, because it's like I finally get a chance to honor somebody who I just enjoyed so much growing up as a kid, watching him perform and all the movies. His last movie, The Chair, I think it's one of the last two that I need to watch. But he had a great film career outside of wrestling, and just a great action guy. In addition to, as you say, just being a true blue, wonderful human being.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you were mentioning he's on stage, he's on the ring persona, kind of being passed as a kind of a bad guy kind of character. I mean, I always saw him mostly as, and correct me if I'm wrong, because for the little that I've seen him on the ring, but he was more like a sardonic kind of character, more like the anti-hero. Would I be correct in saying that, or he was kind of one of the bad guys on the ring, on the stage? Well,
I would say when he started out, he was pretty much the bad guy. But yeah, you're more into his bigger career in WWE. He was definitely the anti-hero. Because the guy would get over no matter what he did, and he did some crazy, outlandish things that they couldn't get away with nowadays.
Yeah, because that's how that's usually the parts that he would play on, or at least the parts that I know him playing on movies. It will be mostly like that. Especially in They Live, he starts off as just a working man, and again he kind of has this undertone of a lot of going back to the director John Carpenter, a lot of his characters like Snake Plissken, which I kind of like. They're like Han Solo kind of guys. They're guys that have a price. They do something for a reason. They're not particularly interested in helping the fellow man. But then at the end of the day, there's always kind of a U-turn, and they kind of kind of bend their elbow, and they actually, they actually end up slugging it out for the right reason, so they become kind of the archetypal cowboy. And yeah, I mean, that's how I always saw him. And you, like you were saying, he was a good performer. I mean, he without being a trained actor, he actually he becomes quite endearing on screen. It's easy to warm up to his roles, which not many guys have been able to do that leap from the ring to the screen. But ones that I've made, two of one or two of them really linger, and I think Roddy Piper, the parts that he has done, I think they hold up quite well. Obviously Dwayne Johnson as a mega career, but he really is he's more like a crowd pleaser, family oriented kind of thing. While Roddy Piper was trying to define a character, basically, I believe he was trying to do something else on screen. He was trying to inject a little bit more of drama into his characters, of pathos. So and obviously the movie you mentioned, The Share, which by all means you can tell us where it's available, so anyone listening they can go and check it out.
It's on Amazon right now.
It's on Amazon right now, and it is yeah, I've seen snippets of it. I haven't had a chance to watch the whole thing yet, but he puts a lot into it. He really he what I'm trying to say is the distinction between just being a guy that is obviously trying his best, but he's just trying to fulfill an obligation, a contractual obligation, just being X, Y, or Z on screen, as opposed to Roddy Piper that he's actually trying to act out, trying to do something more. That's what I take from the parts that I've seen him on. Obviously, you guys probably have your own opinion about that. Um, Anything else in particular you wanna tell us about this project? Obviously, you mentioned you might have this obviously distributed by the wrestling company, and then maybe into shops. But in terms of continuing the story, you said you might have four more books planned. So what really is the long term goal for this?
The long-term goal is to tell a broader story about this creature, um, this villain who basically, it's your kind of your world domination type story. The race, the heels, that this villain represents, they need humans to be able to exist. They need to turn humans heel, basically, and it's some wrestling play on some wrestling jargon. And so all of these different wrestlers in these different storylines, they come together to do this ultimate battle at the end, and that's kind of our broader story. But we kept this story to where this will still stand alone perfectly well on its own. And if we're able to tell a larger story, so be it. But if not, we're going to put out a really high quality, nice book with some excellent writing, and it's going to be very entertaining for all ages. Wrestling fans, Piper fans of all shapes and sizes are going to enjoy this, and we just really can't wait to get it in their hands.
Awesome. Well, earlier on when we started, I did mention a few titles, few wrestling comic book titles that I know of. I believe there's actually many more. That what I was thinking. I mean, you guys can probably give me a little bit of info on that. That of what you are aware. How many comic books exist on wrestling? I mean, not since ever, but since the 80s, let's say. Uh,
Currently there's a few different offerings. A Boom has a WWE license, and they try to tell stories in between what's going on in the shows or referencing old material. And it's U.S. comic book sales are kind of in a tight spot right now, especially with the mainstream books. The indie books seem to be doing pretty well. Um, but and there's been some other things, and one of the things that we noticed though in looking at everything else that was out there was that nobody really did anything well with the characters of the wrestlers, or
mhm.
what we would call kayfabe in the business lingo. And that's one of the things we wanted to focus on with this book is like, okay, the character of Roddy Piper, the antics of Roddy Piper. How can we flush that into a mainstream superhero story? So that was our focus going into it. I think it's more successful for a book to be not like necessarily a comic book about wrestlers, but wrestlers starring in a comic book, kind of like wrestlers starring in a movie.
Yes.
You know, they live has been our running example. That's not a wrestling movie, but it's a wrestler in a role. And you definitely see parts of Roddy Piper, and then you see parts of the man Roderick Toombs playing out that role. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do through this book, to set ourselves apart from some of the other things that have been out there.
Right. And I mean, I think that's the best way to go. I mean, if we made a wrestling comic book where Roddy Piper was a wrestler and he's in the ring, I mean, we have to compete with decades of Roddy Piper matches. And I mean, that's not what we would try to do. And people already know that. We want to show Piper in a different light, in a different situation that people aren't used to, but it's still familiar to them and enjoyable.
Must be really cool. I advise everyone to obviously go into this campaign and get it while it's still going, because after that, it is a flexible goal. So you guys are gonna print it anyway. It is basically launch. What is the estimate date for this to be ready and shipped?
We have our hard date of February of 2020, which gives us basically a year to get all production and printing and everything done. But our goal is to get this done ahead of time. And I will be I've already started. I've been doing updates through the Indiegogo campaign. I'll be updating it with the art as soon as the art is approved to be shown. I'll be posting updates there. So whoever's backing the campaign, they're going to be on the same journey that I'm in, and we're going to be moving along this road together, and they'll see the progress of the book coming together.
All right, so we have a whole year, the whole of 2019 to actually produce the book, the whole 40-something pages. You briefly mention that you might have some other artists working on this, or you're solo on this book in terms of the art?
Right now, I'm solo. The Indiegogo campaign, one of the hopes for that would be to have the resources to bring in and pay someone a good wage to be the colorist on the book. But if that doesn't happen, it'll still be my job, which I have no problem doing. It's just a good way. It'd be a great way for us to get this to people's hands quicker.
Well, that's fine. I mean, if the colors on the Indiegogo campaign are yours and they're the ones that you would be using on the book, I personally would be completely happy with that. It just looks fine for the style of art being used. But
we wouldn't just hire anybody either if we had that opportunity. It would have to be something that was a good fit. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it at all.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but again, on the art, it's only you, and that was my
yes.
My focus. Yes, that's right. So yeah, a whole year. Well, there's plenty of time, I guess. This is probably you're not dedicating to this full time. I presume you're doing something else as well.
Yeah, I do my normal art stuff. I have commissions coming in. I do the fan art thing on the convention circuit, and so I pretty much only work weekends. That's for that stuff. So Monday through Friday or whatever, I'm pretty much going to be focused on this.
Yeah, and that's why you got a whole year. And it's a good schedule. I mean, when a person is doing the whole art by himself, the pencil and the inks, especially if you can only dedicate 2 days a week or something thereabouts, time does go fast. Suddenly it's September or October, and suddenly you're struggling to finish the last few pages. It is quite a lot of work. A lot of times people don't understand how long it takes.
Yeah, but see, that's if you sleep every day. I don't think Erik needs to sleep every day. He can just sleep a couple hours a week.
That is true. Some sacrifices are needed sometimes.
Dominic's a pretty good slave driver, so if I start to slack off, he'll be beating down my door with a baseball bat and hit me with a coconut.
That's why I'm here.
Well, you can always ask Dominic to help you with the layouts. Let's see how quickly he comes.
Yes. I mean, I could do layouts. I can't do good layouts. They would be horrible.
Well, there
I'm
you go.
just, I'm a writer. I ran out of talent. That's about all I can do.
That's it. Layouts is the last stop. Very good, guys. By the way, Erik, are you doing this digitally or is this traditionally done? Pen and ink? I mean, paper and ink? Or are you. Because looking at your still here, I'm just wondering if this is a scan of a page or if this has been digitally inked. How do you work?
I primarily work digitally. I use Clip Studio and my iPad Pro. That way I can always be at work. And as far as the output, I don't notice a difference anymore between digital and traditional. The digital just gives you the bonus of being able to correct your mistakes a lot
Yep.
faster. And
Absolutely.
obviously, it helps to allow for a quicker production run because I'm far less concerned about ruining a piece of paper when it's a digital piece of paper.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that was why my question, because I'm looking at it. I usually can, I still can kind of identify digital art against traditional art, but it's getting more difficult by the day. And right now, I wasn't exactly sure, although some of the lines they seem to be too clean in some ways. So I was inclining myself to digital. But yeah, it is becoming increasingly more diluted, the difference. I still work traditionally, and it is becoming a pain because I usually tend to some books I tend to have very loose layouts, so I really I go hard on the final page, on the actual page. So I
mhm.
actually start sketching on the actual page, doing layouting on the actual page, and then by the time I'm thinking on, okay, this works, let me start cleaning this up and tightening the pencils, by then it's a smudge. It's a huge
Yeah.
smudge. I got to erase the whole thing and start all over again. Obviously, all this process, either you go through a lot of sketching, through a lot of layouts, a lot of pages, a lot of thumbnails, and all that, or
Yeah.
you just bypass all that, go on a digital path, and well, you got half of the work cut. So I'm slowly getting to the point that I'm considering uh, going digital. But
The
again,
um, the the iPad Pro is the way to go. The Apple Pencil is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, they finally what sold me on it is Best Buy finally got smart enough to actually load Autodesk Sketchbook on the thing, and so that you could actually try the pencil out in a real drawing program. And when I found that I could shade with the side of the pencil,
mm,
I was like, okay, take my money.
yeah,
I couldn't pass it up. So if yeah, anybody who if you're able to and you want to go digital, I just go straight to the iPad Pro as far as that goes. And I typically like my work process will be 3 or 4 different layers of pencils. Start with like super rough, and then I kind of work the characters up to these messy gestural drawings, and then move them around on the page and get the layout exactly the way that I like it. And then I go into a mid stage of pencils, and then by the time I get to the final inks, it's been at least 3 or 4 different build ups from there.
hmm
And and then when I ink it in one of the things I love about the Clip Studio program is it removes the need to have a flatter for a colorist.
uh-huh.
Sorry, all of you out there who are flatters, but if you tick this little box on a layer, you can make all of the lines into fillable shapes, and it fills it perfectly so that you can do that. You can do all your fills on a completely different layer. Just click, 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 and then you can concentrate on the rendering, which is where the real artistry of being a colorist comes into it. So it's just simplified a lot of things and made things happen a lot quicker. And for me, on a personal note, the whole digital tools kind of saved my art career because I have this medical condition called scleroderma,
hmm
and one of the things that it does is it crumpled up my hands and made them all the fingers real stiff.
Right.
So as this was happening to me, I had to kind of retrain myself how to draw in the first place. But
Absolutely.
being able to take the jitteriness out of my hands, where I don't have fine motor skills, and be able to zoom in and do broader strokes and stuff like that, has really helped me compensate for a lot of the problems that I have with my motor skills in my hands and fine skills. So, I mean, you lose the opportunity to sell originals, but you gain time and quality. So I'll take the trade any day.
Absolutely. And there's also other things you can do digitally, isn't it? For example, you have you're doing the layout and you're doing a specific character, and then you decide that you want to do them slightly bigger or slightly smaller, and I believe you can just kind of circle the character, copy it, and then just paste it or whatever, just shrinking it or increasing it in size, isn't it?
Yeah, any artist that's working digitally and their work still looks like crap, I mean, there's a problem that doesn't have to do with the software there, because it makes it easy enough to get the tools are there if you know how to use them to get solid layouts that will appeal to a broad audience.
Yes, because the program is intuitive. Obviously, it's working in favor of the artist and it's working in favor of the medium, isn't it? So you got the layout tool, and then obviously, like you were mentioning, you got the flattening tool, and then so on and so forth. So you can actually do the whole book, a structure at least of the whole book within just one program. I mean, it is obviously quite a money investment. I know some of the big tabs, the Cintiqs and all that, they go for well, I mean, I don't know, the sky's the limit, but I think the average good one is about 6,000, I think. And this is me thinking about ones where you draw directly on the screen. At this precise moment, at the stage that I'm at, I wouldn't be considering any other operating machine. It would have to be one where I would actually draw directly on the screen, because I just drawing on a pad and looking at at the monitor is just something that is anti-intuitive. I just can't do it. At least I can't do it now. So I would have to draw directly on the screen, and those ones are usually quite a big price tag.
Well, at least here in the States, I paid about $1,000 for my iPad Pro, and I pay $5 a month for the Clip Studio license, and that's almost all I need now.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's I mean, they are the few budget machines for less than $2,000, but all the guys that I've seen that they're using all these programs on it, from Photoshop to
and you can't do that on iPad Pro, but
they got the big Cintiqs, and they're wow. It is an investment, but again, with enough hours into it, it's something that obviously pays its dividends. But obviously, if you can do what you want and what you need for 3 times less the cost, then great. I mean, it's perfect. Sometimes the highest investments are not necessarily the best, because that means that comes a lot of hours of learning how to actually work with the actual machine and the program, and those are hours that you could be using to actually produce work instead of just learning. Again, if you're still a young man in college, you can afford to spend 2 years or a year and a half or even 3 years learning the process. But if you're tighter for time, like we're all old men already, so you want to get to the end product, to the sweet juice, as soon as possible. So I'm sorry we're leaving Dominic out of this conversation.
Well, no, I mean, when I type, I use Microsoft Word.
Awesome.
I know that's exciting for everybody.
I heard about it.
It's great. It's great. You can copy and paste.
You can move some letters as well around, isn't it? From different lines.
What if you spell something wrong? I mean, then you have to delete it and rewrite it.
No, they'll do it for you automatically. It's crazy what they come up with.
Yeah, if you don't edit those texts, you might get into trouble, because the program might have replaced the word that you wanted for something completely different.
It's funny, like that's always a thing with artists. People love to watch them create what they're doing, and that's great. And I'm one of them. But with a writer, it's not like I can go and make a video where I'm just like, people are watching me type. It's not very exciting for anyone, including me.
I often wondered how a video like that would be. Actually, that'd be very interesting. Guy typing, and he sees
Yeah.
chair, and he goes like, "No, I'm gonna change this sentence." You know. 2 hours later, well, okay, that's the end of the first page. Join me tomorrow.
Right. Right. And then it would be like a whole hour. He's got like 2 pages, and then you just see him highlight everything and hit delete and just start swearing because he didn't like it.
And then it just gets pretentious and starts talking about the fundamentals of the character and the story and the plot. And then
Right.
he disappears for 5 minutes. He goes and gets a beer, comes back. No, I'm like, write this. This is rough.
He falls asleep on the keyboard. You see just a series of R's.
We're slowly building up to that scene in The Shining, isn't it? Where type thing for 250 pages.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys obviously you have a whole year ahead to work on this. The campaign is coming to a close, but obviously, it'd be great to get much more and get to all those to get those extended perks. Well, 6,000. But I mean, is the you would you be happy? At least, is it something that you can work with if your campaign doesn't get actually completely funded to that level that you ask for? Would you be relaunching again the book? Successful campaigns more than once, or this is the only one you're going to be doing?
I mean, this is the only one I think I'm going to be doing. I mean, we're happy with so far with what we've raised. Sure, we'd like to hit that $6,000 mark, but I mean, this opportunity, at least I'll speak for myself, has been absolutely incredible to work with a legend like Roddy Piper's. So I mean, that paid for itself right there, and it's helped put me on the map to a certain degree. Being at StarCast and talking to people like you, wrestling fans, I feel like I'm like in the wrestling business at some time. So I love it. I just want to tell everybody listening over there in the UK that this is ending in a week or so, and you'll still be able to buy the books. If you're in the US and you're at a comic convention where Erik and I are at, or from my website or Pro Wrestling Tees. However, a lot of these really cool perks are not going to be available. I mean, obviously, once the book comes out, you can't be a character in the book anymore. You can't get your ass kicked by Piper or be in the crowd. So these are some really, really cool, unique, and limited amount of time left of perks and rewards to be a part of. I know some people that are buying these up and putting their kids in the audience, and because they want their kids to have this. Is what a great Christmas present. You still have some time to get some really unique Christmas presents out there instead of just getting them the regular stuff like a tie or something like that. So this is really, really cool. The easiest way to get there is kiltedavenger.com. And yes, we know the UK is far away from Detroit where Erik and I live, but like I said, Erik will hand deliver it. So no problem there.
Yeah, walk across the pond. And if any convention promoters over there are listening, we would love to be flown over to set up shop and talk to wrestling fans over across the pond. So always opportunities like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, when I used to watch it live, they were definitely coming here. And to be honest, I've been out of the loop for some time. I don't know if they're you guys probably know that better. If and when they come, the wrestling federations, they used to do some shows here. I guess sometimes they go on tour still. But yeah, it's time to do some plugs. Yeah, I mean, again, your Indiegogo project. I will leave the link below the video. It's available for the next 6 days. But obviously, after that, like you were just mentioning, your website is
for the campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the Roddy Piper campaign, if you want to check it out, you want to donate or check out the video, it's kiltedavenger.com.
kiltedavenger.com.
Yeah.
You do have your own imprint. You want to tell us the name of that as well, because I might not be able to leave all these links under the video. So if you want to slowly just tell us what is your label, the one that you have other titles available from.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So the main hub where you can get access to everything is at messbucketcomics.com. MESS, like make a mess, bucket, BUCKET, comics, COMICS.com. That's where you can order the Arcane Awakening graphic novel trilogy, Donnybrook, our hockey comic series, Ravager plushies, and everything. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Mess Bucket Comic. And please follow us. We got some great announcements coming. This has been a great year, many leaps forward for my company. So stick around. We've got some really cool stuff. Any of you promoters in the UK, fly Erik and I out there. We'll do your Comic Cons. We'll come out there. I know how to mind the gap and all that stuff, so we'll be fine.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to follow me, I am at Dreaded Dinosaur on all the major social media platforms, Instagram, through Facebook and Twitter, and yeah, I think that's the major ones. And the Dreaded Dinosaur comes from my webtoon, Dreaded Dinosaur Man, which is another project of mine floating out there on the internet. And of course, Facebook, Erik Hodson Illustrations, which I think Dreaded Dinosaur will take you to that as well. You can see all my wrestling artwork that I've done in the past, as well as the other stuff that I've been involved in.
Okay, great. So Erik is definitely at Dreaded Dinosaur, so that's his handle on Twitter. And with that, you can find him almost anywhere else on his art pages as well. So once again, the shout out is for Mess Bucket Comics. I will definitely be checking their website since you have several titles on offer there. Will the Kilted Avenger be available as well on Mess Bucket Comics website, or this will be exclusive only to the other company that you mentioned, the one that does the wrestling merchandise?
We haven't figured that out yet, but we decided, Ryan with Pro Wrestling Tees and I, we're just going to have a match at his store, and the winner gets to sell it on their website. We don't know if it's going to be a cage match or no rules. I know Ryan fights dirty, so I've got to be ready. Maybe Erik will do a run-in. I don't know. But hopefully it'll be available at both of them. And if not, then I will definitely have a link that will send you to Pro Wrestling Tees.
On the Mess Bucket Comics site. Wonderful.
Correct. Yeah, whatever you'll have, the information will definitely be at messbucketcomics.com.
Okay, cool. I'll definitely try to add the link to that website as well in the video, since that seems to be, like you mentioned, the main hub to get connected with you guys and with your titles, and eventually with the Kilted Avenger as well. All right, okay, very good. I will do that. Good luck for the rest of the campaign for the last 6 days, and good luck with the work that you have in front of you, Erik, for the whole year.
Thank you.
With a little bit of help from Dominic with some layouts. Do you have any other wrestler books planned after this? Any other heroes of wrestling that you would like to portray in comic book form? Anyone else?
Well, we don't have anything set in stone yet, but we do have our first big guest star who's going to be in the Roddy Piper book. Will most likely be the follow-up, if we get to do the follow-up, and that's Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And then we have a few others in mind, but nothing firm that we can probably mention.
That's fine. Awesome. Anything else you guys want to approach? World War, politics? We're getting 1 hour.
Yes. Get the everybody grab all the pounds out of your pocket and then get on your computer or your phone and go to kiltedavenger.com. I would like to say that we did get one donation during this interview, and I'm assuming that's because of the interview, and I'd like to thank you for that. That's great.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope so. I was having a look here at the chat, and there is no comments here now, but I'm sure we'll have at least a few viewers before the week is over, and if not a huge amount of backers today, then I'm sure you hopefully still get a few contributions from here. Any other channels you guys are going to be in that you want to advertise? Anybody else on YouTube that has invited you guys on to to talk about this project?
Well, if you'd like to see me draw Boba Fett live, you can look up Blacklist Universe on YouTube. He does a show called Drawn and Quartered, where
yes.
various comic book stars come together and do some drawings. And I get to draw with Mike Miller, John Malin, and Andrew Horta, and it was a lot of fun. Kind of disappointed that Oscar didn't win, but we drew Boba Fett anyway.
When was that?
That was just before Thanksgiving, I think. Yeah, it was a Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Oh, a week or so ago, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, if you'd like to see me type live, then I suggest you contact your local psychiatrist.
He has the link for those videos then. Okay, you want to keep it private? That's fine. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And,
I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do a follow-up on Mass Bucket Comics, and great luck with the book and future projects as well. And hopefully we can have you back again on this show for any other discussions, okay? The channel is always open. All right?
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, for everyone listening, have a good evening or good morning or have a good day, good afternoon. And do subscribe if you haven't yet. Like the videos as well. We're trying to push the channel up by getting more subscribers. There's a new show starting very soon, which will be movie reviews done in a weird way. So it's just as a tantalizing idea, so you guys can tune in. And we'll see you again on another Lewis Michael show. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.